Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes, and today marks day 15 of Donald Trump's criminal trial in Manhattan. It was obvious to everyone involved the ex-president, who is not known for what you might call a strong attention span, is losing his patience.
They don't like it when I talk during the day because they'd rather not have me talk at all. So I'll now go and sit in that freezing cold courtroom for 8 or 9 hours and think about being on the campaign.
After complaining about the temperature, the 77-year-old ex-president sat down at the defense table and began shuffling through a large stack of papers. You might think he was poring over evidence or notes or arguments related to his legal defense, but no. Donald Trump is leafing through positive press clippings about himself, much like a child with an iPad at a restaurant. The ex-president needs to be entertained during the less salacious portions of his trial. As Maggie Haberman in the New York Times puts it, quote, part of the reason aides supplied Trump with these articles during trials, as they did at his civil fraud trial last year as well, is to keep him occupied during the proceedings. The guy was president of the whole country. Now, as we've covered on this show before, those articles come courtesy of one of Trump's aides, who his staff have nicknamed the human printer. I'm not making any of this up, okay? Quote, because she travels around with a portable printer so that she can quickly produce mood-boosting articles for Trump to read. She has also been spotted running after Trump's golf cart on the golf course so that he can read things, presumably positive press, between holes. Donald Trump's need to be mollified, validated, apparently even extends to his actual legal defense. So today, the ex-president's attorneys displayed this January 2017 New York Times front page as evidence, with its rather critical headline, quote, tax plan sows confusion as border tensions soar. Strange thing to introduce in evidence. According to reports, Trump is enamored with how he looks in the attached picture, which I find sort of adorable. And his former aide testified today that he sent a copy of the photo to multiple people. Like, don't I look good? Is that a good picture of me? Now, Trump's need for additional distractions may have stemmed from the somewhat more technical nature of today's testimony. Compared to the past two sessions with bombshell testimony from Stormy Daniels, today was a little on the drier side. NBC News referring to it as, quote, the metaphorical eye of the storm caught between yesterday's testimony from Daniels and Monday's expected testimony from former Trump fixer Michael Cohen. We're going to have much more on him a bit later in the show. Much of today's proceedings was so run-of-the-mill that many reporters spent part of the day on a rather particular fixation with something stuck in Donald Trump's hair. Our eyewitnesses in the courtroom noticed what looked like a piece of ribbon affixed to the back of his head. For what it's worth, Maggie Haberman reported it was a particularly dark spindle of hairspray. As for today's substance, we heard from a number of prosecution witnesses about the relevance of potential evidence, including representatives from AT&T and Verizon about phone records, multiple paralegals from Manhattan District Attorney's Office about social media posts and phone data. Because for as much as Donald Trump whines about this process and how long it's taking and how unfair the gag order is and how he should be on the campaign trail, he is part of the reason why the trial is taking as long as it is. Because his lawyers have taken this strange and rare step of refusing to stipulate, as it's called, to the evidence being presented by the prosecution. As the Washington Post explained last month, quote, in many court proceedings, opposing lawyers stipulate to basic facts to avoid wasting time on minor details that aren't really disputed. On Trump's legal team, a decision was made to stipulate to nothing and fight over everything. But because, of course, Trump's tactic of choice has always been to delay things as much as possible so he can return to the White House and immediately make his legal woes disappear. Joining me now are two people who watched this unfold at the courthouse today. Suzanne Craig, an investigative reporter at New York Times, who's been covering the trial, as well as Robert F. Kennedy's brainworms. And Christy Greenberg served as a federal prosecutor for the Southern District.
You just had to.
Of New York. I had to get it somehow.
It's okay.
It's one of the best scoops I've read recently. Okay, so look, can we start on this? You're a lawyer, and I want to start on this weird process thing because that dominated much of today. You've got this sort of, we've seen this before, essentially custodial testimony, right? This record is what it purports to be, and I can tell you that because I'm the paralegal who did it, or I'm the person who transcribed it, right? Why is this necessary again?
Okay, so
you have to be able to show kind of that there's a basis to have this evidence be admitted. And usually that's a thing where, again, if it's something like phone records, there's usually not really a dispute that this phone called this number at this time and this is how long the call lasted for. These are usually like pretty basic facts that everybody can agree to. But they are not stipulating to those, right? The parties can't agree, so they have to bring in an evidence, a witness, somebody from Verizon, some from AT&T, to just walk through what those mean. Now, there, I think, are probably two reasons why the defense is doing this.
I want to hear them because I'm confused as to why. No, honestly.
Yeah. So one reason is, the jury is bored, right? They're bored with this. This is not, the most scintillating. This is a letdown from Stormy Daniels' fireworks from yesterday, right? And they're bored, and so they're sitting there and they're listening to all of this. And who do they blame for it? Who's the one putting on these witnesses? The prosecutors. So
right, these are the prosecution's witnesses.
Yeah, and
because they have to, because the defense is making them.
Right, but the jury doesn't know that the defense is. The jury doesn't know what a stipulation is. Like, the jury doesn't know that in usual cases these kinds of things aren't put on as evidence. So they're like, the prosecution, they're kind of lumbering in their case. That's one. Two, it actually seems like the defense attorneys were really questioning the witnesses. Like, they weren't necessarily agreeing everything was what it would say. Like, well, couldn't this just, this call, couldn't it just be a pocket dial? And it says
so they're trying to raise
seconds.
actual doubts about it.
Yes.
They really did
like,
today.
This says a minute, but really that could be 15 seconds, and it's rounded up to a minute, and that's how it works, right? And like, they're trying to and you have this call number calling this call number, but you don't know who's behind each of these calls,
Okay,
right?
so there's actual substantive doubt sowing.
Correct. So they were doing two things, I think, at the same time.